Hello, so this is more like a top 10 tips for returning players to the game, not really meant for newer players because I'll skip a lot of information. So let's get started. First of all, what is the biggest change? How to get ship upgrade items. Now you no longer get a lot of items from just playing missions, you barely get anything to be honest. So the best way and almost the only way to get ship upgrade items is to trade for them. So you exchange, you give them what they need. For example, simple materials or very rare materials. And then you just buy the items you want, like the bio-waste tank, which is super helpful as you can see, or even these alcohol packages, because they're very cheap and you might need them. So how does this work? Well, simply put, whenever you are in a, let's say, a planet system or in a location, you'll just check all of the locations that are in your vicinity, and then you look at the things you have over here. So for example, you can get armor crates, gun crates, that very good sniper rifle, and those other things. So you know that's in your sector. You either go there and trade for them because you can see what they want, and that will give you an idea what you want to collect from the mission. So basically over here we have, let's say, 5 missions, and let's say you want to trade for things that are over here, right? So that means you want to trade with the Church of Revelation. That means you'll have to see if there are any Church of Revelation missions, because remember, whenever you finish a mission for a faction, you get some credit for them. So usually you would get, let's say around 1000 points for doing a mission for them. So that means you always will have some credit, so you can trade with them even without exchanging some things. But like I keep saying, if you just do some missions for them, if you just help that faction, you might even get a discount, because there's a discount system in play over here. So if you have good relations with the factions, it might even go up to 25% or some more. Let's look at Daydream Chems. Yeah, what? Daydream Chems, so 100%, and this is their current tech level. And it also depends on their tech level, on their location, on the faction power over here, and some other things what they produce on the stations. And what's even more, for example, the welding, it's the most elusive item in the game currently, welding machine. You can see that not a lot of people are making it, so it's made on the moon for now, but sometimes it will shift, and there are a lot of consumers for it, and it's owned by Delta. So yeah, you should just probably focus on getting, let's say, a specific item. Let's select another item so you can understand this a little better. You can focus on, let's say, cloning control system. That means you need to be friends with these factions, or at least don't do missions against them for a little bit of time. And then you just go to the location and you're gradually doing missions over time to get those things. So that's kind of like the only way to do it. You just have to decide from the beginning of the game what you should focus on. And this brings us to tip number 2. What should you focus on? Well, the best upgrades, but again, you should also insist on others, but the best upgrades will be the ones that are for navigation, because you get so many cool things like being able to create missions where you are. So you go into a solar system like this one, you have 5 missions, maybe you don't want to do any of them, and then you are just generating 3 more missions and stuff like that. It's unbeatable. You really need these upgrades as fast as possible to generate missions where you are, plus you get more reputation points, more charges for the upgrades. It's very cool. And then the scanner, you can see the first floor. To be honest, if you can see the first floor, that's basically 70% of the mission done. Because sometimes you'll spend 20 minutes on the first floor because you'll not know where to go. The first floor of a level is most of the times 3 or 4 times bigger than any other floor on it. So super mega useful. And over here it's a new thing, the management. So this will allow you to take control of one of the minor corporations. I'll not get into the details because I have a separate video about that. But the sooner you control a corporation, the faster you can get 100% discount on the item. So let's say you take over Daydream Chems, and this 25% discount will turn into a 100% discount. So massive upgrades. And if you manage to bring your faction up to the ladder over here, it will be with a little asterisk over here. So this is my faction planet bridge. I always tend to take something that also provides us with a lot of welding tools, or I don't know, they're just producing the stuff you really want and really need. You can also check out the technology tree to see what their rewards are and some other stuff, but again, we're getting into too many details. So navigation. And then tip number 3, the next upgrade that is very good is the shuttle upgrade. Okay, let's see over here. Or I guess it's the hangar. Yeah, it's the hangar. So the hangar upgrade is very useful because you can have the capsule, you can have multiple uses for it. Recharge time, it's a bit annoying, but slots is also important. So you can summon a capsule into a mission to extract the best loot you have at that point, because you always want to extract it. You don't want to have it on you in case you die. And this is what I mean. This is the welding, the very important ship upgrade items, the chips, and all of the other cool stuff you want. And then you'll unlock the shuttle, and this is why I say the shuttle upgrade, because this will allow you to put stuff in your shuttle. Now for the shuttle, I mostly put stuff that is on the first or the second floor, meaning spare equipment like armor, guns, utility, consumables, and stuff like that. So that will be there. The most important items will be in the capsule. And then you'll also have you'll have access to the trader module, which does exactly what it sounds like. Yeah, it's a little harder to use, I will admit that, but for example, if you want to buy something from a solar system, you'll just send, for example, over here, you'll send the packages or the AI modules and the weapon parts, and you might get some bio-waste tanks back. So that's kind of like a very, very cool upgrade to have. You'll not be using it a lot, but remember that stations get taken over, or they might have some problems in their production, or they get their tech level lowered or stuff like that. So it might be useful to have that, to send that capsule, just in case you need a few items and you don't want to go there personally. Now the tip number 4 will be related to production upgrade. Why is the production, the conveyor stuff so important? Look at how many things I can produce right now. And you may be thinking, well, this is overkill, you never need to produce this many items. I don't think that's accurate, because in the beginning of the game, it might take you a few days to even produce some sorbent, so that means you'll always be producing the same thing over and over. You'll be needing a lot of consumables, ammo, you can even make grenades and some other stuff, so don't dismiss that. Because the conveyor upgrades will allow you to produce things faster and you'll have more slots, but they'll also lead into scavengers. Scavengers will mean you get extra resources after each mission. So as you can see, you get resources, which might be good, might be bad, food or medicine, ammunition, and weapons and armor. And the upgrades for that will just bring you more items, which is amazing in my opinion. Look at that. All of the cool stuff you can get. And think about it. So you're basically getting all of the bad stuff in your capsule, you're getting some spare equipment in the shuttle, and then these guys are just bringing in consumables for you. You might not need to loot ammo ever again, because you can just get some ammo and then craft it in the conveyor belt. Well, I guess you get the idea. You can craft medicine, you can craft ammunition, just by all of this stuff over here. Now, the recycling, the disassembler module over here, is this one important? It's actually super important, and you rarely notice this one, because this is another good way to get extra resources. Now, it does take time and you do need a little bit of patience with it, but for example, you loot, let's say, 10 armors. You are too bored to disassemble them manually. You also want to put basically high quality stuff over here, like guns or stuff like that, which also ties into your equipment, because sometimes you go to your faction and they might sell you or give you for free, let's say, 20 heretic shotguns, and then you just put them over here, recycle them, and then you'll get a lot of weapon parts, which you can then send with the shuttle or even yourself to sell and get the items you need. So as you can see, this all ties into the game's economy perfectly. You will need to master the economy as soon as possible, so you don't have issues with some other mechanics later, or you will get a huge bottleneck. Now, tip number 5, the best class. Well, it's a bit of a discussion, but this is what I like to play with, and this has been very successful for me. So what I like to do is modify the Tunnel Rats, where I leave the Marauder, the reinforced ammo, and the immune response, which is amazing in this safe. Well, I guess I can show you the final values. So the Marauder will get 3 more items, but unfortunately they have nerfed the items you can get from this. So no longer will you get endgame items or ship upgrade items. You'll just get sometimes essential items, but most of the times you just get consumables, some ammo, some extra stuff. Backpacks, you get a lot of backpacks apparently from this food and some other stuff, which can be used, and also food packets, which can be used to trade. Shotgun ammo, you get so much out of the shotgun ammo, because 15% more damage is amazing, especially with a few upgrades to your shotguns or just endgame shotguns. You get wounded a lot, so this is a massive help. Over here, combat reflexes, you need dodge. The whole game is based around dodge. Athletics, you need to sprint and dodge. This basically means you have no penalties while sprinting, so that means you just get free action points, but you cannot heal, you cannot open doors and some other stuff. And over here, I decided to take the hardened. Yeah, I had a lot of choices over here, but sadly none of them worked, because most of them were based around other mechanics. So if you get shot in the endgame with an endgame weapon, let's say a tier 6, 7, 8 or something like that, you'll most likely either die or die in the next round if all of the shots hit. So there's no other way around it. You will never get hit, but if you get hit, it's better to survive it and not get wounded a lot and have a lot of HP left and have a lot of armor. So yeah, This is, I think, the best class overall because you can destroy the walls with shotgun ammo and you need a sniper rifle. And it's just too good not to play like this. You can also use the slugs as sniper rifles. So shotguns are very, very versatile. Also, the flechettes are great as well. Now, team number 6, overall best clone upgrades and a unique perk. And this is where things will get tricky. We're in the genome. Now, I still recommend you get Percy. Now think about it. If you're in the early game, it doesn't matter what you have, you need to survive. If you're in the end game, it doesn't matter what you shoot, everything will die. So what I like to do over here is take Percy, Project Percy Fawcett, and give him Evasion Master from Kenzie Yukio. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this. I'll just mention it right now. In order to get the perks for the classes and the clones, you need to unlock those specific ones. So just let's go back a little bit to tip number 1, how to get ship upgrade items, and also how to get ship and clone upgrade items. I recommend you buy all of the chip sets for mind and for classes, and also all of the basic chips because you need a lot of them for upgrade. So I tune Percy with the Evasion Master unique perk, and then I give him enough points so he has max sight range. Then I think I gave him about 3 or 4 points into accuracy, so that's enough, don't bother giving more. And then I just spent all of the other stuff on dodge. As you can see, we're nearing 100% dodge, which will be very, very fun. And the prices are not too bad. As you can see, you need medical components, waste tanks, thermal containers, and mine chips. So the mine chips will always be useful for stuff like this. Same for this. If you want to change this, you need the combat class chip. So you will actually need a lot of these chips, no matter how you look at things. So tip number 7. Now this will be a bit of a longer one, but like I said, I'll just make everything super short so it's easier to understand. Now, tip number 7 and 8. 7 will be the augmentation and 8 will be the best implants, because it's a big difference. Let's remove first of all the augmentation over here. So for the augmentation of the head, I like to use the bionic head. For all of the reasons you can see over here, but mostly it's because of the weapon range and the vision range. So vision and weapon range are super important in the game currently. And over here I just have an implant. Over here I like to use the rubberized manipulator because it doesn't have any issues. Keep in mind that if you change your organic body to robotic, it says over here robotic and robotic, you will need armor plates, ceramic plates, even engineer kits to repair your body. So no longer be using bandages and rags to heal yourself. So be very, very careful with that. In the hand, I just like to use, by the way, not the shoulder, only the hand. Keep that in mind. Because you just get a 5% crit chance and no other stuff attached to it. Over here, I just like to use the rubberized leg because this will give you 1 more action point. Which is massive because instead of 3 action points you get 4. Plus you get 10% more accuracy. Don't bother with the wounding chance. I already balanced it with my class upgrade. So that's why I have the minus. So minus 20% chance to be wounded, plus 20% chance to be wounded. So that basically nullifies it. Over here I just use the controller because of the crit chance, the range accuracy, and that's about it. It's very, very good because of these things, as you can see. Which makes it great as well. Over here I like to use the frame. By the way, yeah, it's a load extra weight, but the other stuff, to be honest, is not going to be enough in my opinion. Let's look at that. The other stuff, it just adds resistance and some other stuff, which is not really needed for us, and I don't really like it or need it, so yeah. I guess it depends on some other stuff, but I just like to have a very aggressive build. Minus a little bit of less pain, and also less weight, which is going to be great because we'll have a lot more dodge with it. Now let's remove that. And as a side note, you can sometimes use this, but as you can see, this doesn't provide any endgame benefits. You just have a wound healing chest, and this is what I use in the beginning of the game. But like I said, this is for the end game, and you can use this in the beginning to a lot of high success, but you'll be lowering your resistance to fire and some of the most common damage types. So again, it's a little bit of a discussion, but I'd like just to use this one. Nothing in the stomach, and over here we just have a rubberized servo, which just gives a flat 15% dodge, which is amazing. So look at all of the cool augments I have. Like I said, you can try and use some other stuff, but usually they don't work this well because some of their other stuff is just too weak, or like I said, it's not useful enough. You At some point, we'll just have no problems with healing, so we need that extra reduced weight. So 55% dodge. Now let's go to tip number 8, which is the best implants. Again, there is a bit of discussion, but I like to use the recoil suppressor. No, let's begin the head. Cortex stimulator just because of the crit chance and crit damage, which they're amazing. The shoulder, I like to use the ranged accuracy. Don't worry about the shock damage. You cannot go below 0, so that's a huge disappointment from the developers. You should be able to go to below 0 because that means you can just stack all of the negatives on the shock resistance and insist too much on the dodge chance, so that means you will not get hit. But again, that's another discussion. That's ranged accuracy plus 20%, which is going to be great as well. Nothing over here for now. The controller, I just like to use the minus 20% wound chance again, so that's actually a big bonus to us. Now, don't worry about the healing, it doesn't really matter. So as you can see, we have a flat minus 20% chance of getting wounded, which will be helpful for us in the long term as well. And over here, I like the bionic lungs because it solves the issue of calories. Yeah, you might be thinking, well, you gain less calories, but you also consume them much slower. So that means if you eat enough from the level and from the big lunch boxes, you'll never have an issue with calories. So you can basically take into each mission a double stack of cans, or even some of these PMC rations over here, and that will be more than enough for the entire level. And in case you're wondering what about the addiction chances and some of the other stuff, poison or blah blah blah, well, you have the blood filtration system over here. This is what I mostly use, and it's so good, it's working so many good things for us. Now, you can play around with the sonars and some of the other stuff, but to be honest, I think we're missing a few upgrades and implants over here, so it's not really going to be that good. The heart plus wounding chance, again, you can have more HP or more stuff, but you should be basing your build more on dodging than anything else. Now, a quick mention is the stomach implant over here. By the way, the stomach is organic and the shoulder is organic, so have a few rags with you as well. The artificial musculature can be very interesting, as you can see, because it has load weight modifier and the throw range, which are super useful. So at some point when I get when I get better guns, which I mean, if I can get 2 or 3 levels into a gun's accuracy, that's it. I will replace this with the artificial musculature, but this is so rare and I only found one in about 40 hours of playtime, or more than 40 hours. Yeah, it's going to be very hard to replace this one. But I guess I can show it. It's not such a big improvement. It's only going to be 2% extra dodge, and because it's so rare, I don't want to spoil it and ruin it until I get the recipe to craft it, because well, a bit of a spoiler note over here, you can now craft these augmentations for yourself, like the anus, the controllers, the bionic lungs, even the integrated magazines and some of the other stuff. Well, I guess I should explain this as well a little bit related to the augmentations about the integrated magazine, because it's kind of a bit of a discussion. Now, scatter plus, that's going to be a big no-no in my book. It depends on how you like to play, but if you have any more scatter to your build, it will be super hard to shoot a shotgun or a rifle from it. So for most people it will be better without it, because you'll also have some other weapon reload modifiers, but again, it depends on your playstyle. At this point of the game, I should probably just use this one, because if you're using a sniper rifle, you don't really need to worry about scatter and some of the other stuff. Okay, so tip number 9, what corporation to help for a fun endgame? Well, this is a bit of a discussion again, but I recommend you help all of the minor corporations. You fight against the Hexarchy and Tet's clan, fight against Tet's clan, and then the Hexarchy is Realware, Ancom, Dilty, SBN, Tianming. And I think that's it. And you should really help the minor corporations like the Church, French, Comte, Planet Bridge, Grasshopper, and the other stuff. Plus Unchained Belt. Unchained Belt has a very unique endgame mechanic where you can get at tech level 10 all of the chips from all of the other factions. So these are all of the unique chips, all of the unique corporation chips from all of the other factions. For example, this is from the Church of Revelation. So this is kind of how your endgame will be helping the minor corporations and teaming up with the pirates to steal from the Hexarchy as well. Also, you don't really want to let That's clan growing power. You don't want to let Dilted grow in power, and you 100% don't want to let Ancom grow in power just because of them being so good all around and having the entropy guns in the endgame. Now, tip number 10, what equipment to take into a mission? Well, this is a bit of a discussion as well, so the short answer is, well, I guess it depends what you want. But you don't really need to upgrade your guns, and by the way, whenever you remove your arm, your gun will be put over there. I just like to have a good sniper rifle, and you have a lot of options over here, because the sniper rifles are the only thing that didn't get hit by a lot of nerfs in the game. You can take the marksman rifle, which will do amazing in the beginning of the game, or even a bishop. Yeah, I'll have to make a separate video about the guns and some other stuff. But basically in the beginning you just want the Hunter RX, sorry about this, I guess I'm missing it. Just because they can fire 9 shots and they're reloading bullet by bullet, if I remember correctly. And they're actually pretty good. Now, there's no point in upgrading sniper rifles because they have very high damage, and as you can see 66 over here will turn into the minimum damage. So the maximum damage for the Hunter RX, which is a good rifle, will turn into a minimum. So there's no point in upgrading your sniper rifles, they're very good as they are. You might want to reduce the reload duration for one of them and maybe a little bit of accuracy, but as you can see the accuracy is so good. The crit chance is very good. The scatter will be a bit of a problem, but you don't really want to shoot shotguns and rogue range at this point anyway. And the second weapon will be a shotgun, which as you can imagine will be a Jeff Hammer and later the Jeff Hammer C22. And finally, I guess this is good for the endgame as well. It's not really top 100% endgame, but it's definitely very close to it. I think this is level 7 and this is level 8, yeah. Just to destroy the walls, just to handle a lot of enemies. As you can see, it fires bursts of 2 or 5, but only at short ranges you want to fire the burst. But I mostly use it to destroy the walls or handle very weak enemies, or hordes of weak enemies. Very good overall. As for the armors, well, like I said, you'll never need shock resistance, because no matter how much shock resistance you put, it will always be near 0. Because it doesn't stack at all. Let me find something that has shock resistance. So see? Well, I hope this is not a hidden mechanic, but I'm just trusting what I'm seeing right now, so there's no point in doing that. Some of the better stuff is the Choban stuff, Choban power armor and the other stuff, as you can see, because it has multiple resistances, but what I like most is the Choban prison pants. I'm not sure what faction has this, or the prison Choban helmet, stuff like that. They seem to offer you all of the best protection with minimal interference. Another very good set is the Ibn Sina set. Fire will be a problem, but it's pretty easy to get. It's also pretty low level, only tech level 6. So yeah, just take armor that is pretty good against everything. Fire is not such a big problem, and the other stuff. It depends if you're fighting Tetsclan. If you're fighting Tetsclan, you also need entropy resistance. As for the other stuff I take with me, I take rags, I take gunsmith kits, and later on engineer kits, because this is what will heal you. And the best thing about this is that in one single turn, you will heal your robotic wounds. So that means if you get shot in the leg, you will heal it 100% next turn. Also, some of the lighter wounds like grazes and scratches will heal on their own, so it's amazing how little time you will spend with healing and some of the other stuff. You also want weapon parts because you want to repair it. By the way, this shotgun has amazing condition. I forgot, I think it's about 150 or something crazy like that. These two guns have great durability. So this is just to repair the guns because it's going to get expensive. Also, another reason why you need multiple production slots in the ship, and then just the first aid kit from the military or some of the other stuff. As you can see, this provides a big boost to heal, minus pain, and some of the other stuff. Over here, I just like to have 2 extra stacks of ammo, so 2 stacks of each ammo of my primary weapon. And then I just like to have a stack of grenades over here. Usually it's the explosive grenade because, well, it's kind of like the cheapest to get, but it's not the only ones you can get. I have such a huge selection of grenades. I guess I should show that off at some point and explain more about the grenades themselves. But again, it's hard to mention all of this stuff without falling behind. So you have the explosion grenades, you have the frost grenades, which is super important. Be careful because they'll throw frost grenades at you. Explosive, and then you have the fire ones, and then you have even stronger fire ones. Fire 40. Fire 10, explosion radius 1, explosion again. They will. This inferno grenade from the Church of Revelation will basically burn entire rooms down. Don't believe what they say over here. Also the plasma grenades, amazing, 250 damage, and you have stun grenades, and then you have thermal grenades, which do exactly what it sounds like. You even have the plague grenades, which do poison damage, so you have to be super careful about your resistances, because you might not get killed by their guns, but you'll definitely get killed by their grenades and some of the other stuff. Also, there are a couple of things worth mentioning here as well, but again, it's not really worth it. And the dark alcohol packages, because you can filter out the poisoning with your stomach. You don't even need the sorbent anymore. The sorbent, you can still get an infection from your stomach or from your shoulder, but well, I guess that's life. That's how it works. Let me look at this a little bit more. The stomach. So cleansing addictions, infections, and toxins. So if you are feeling very light, you can just use this from the beginning of the game. If you want to stop using some of the items over here, I don't recommend you try that, because the missions themselves can get very dicey, and you might need the extra ammo on the other stuff as well. So that's why you need also the dismantling and the other stuff. You need so many repair kits in the endgame, it's almost unbelievable. Yeah, and that's kind of it. That's kind of like the whole mechanics of the game explained in 25 minutes or 26, and now you can relax a little bit. And I'll have to make videos for some of the other stuff as well. Now, I guess I should make a single video. Well, let's make a single point about upgrading these things. The only bonus, tip number 11. The only things worth upgrading weapon-wise in the beginning will just be shotguns, because they're much better when they're upgraded. And if you, let's say, give them 5 levels, that's enough. Their other stats are pretty good as well, but you might want to reduce reload a little bit. And sadly, the best candidate for upgrade will always be the Jeff Hammer. As you can see, it does a lot of damage, but again, shotguns tend to be very weak in the beginning. And as for armor, well, I don't recommend you upgrade anything below tier 6. Once you get a great tier 6 armor set, just upgrade it. And like I said, there's no point in upgrading the shock, so maybe just bring this to 10. And as you can see, that will be a lot less upgrades, but this is only at max, so I recommend you... Again, there are so many factors to talk about, but mostly the shock weapons are not that strong anymore. If you have enough dodge, that's the only condition. So as you can see, it's 1 to 96, so even if you get hit, you will need to be hit with the maximum damage, but you'll still survive and it will cause a lot of pain, so that's a lot of ifs. But also be careful, because there are some pistols which will inflict shock damage. And too bad it doesn't put them in the right order, but you also have these big ones over here. Oof, if you get hit by these ones, you are going to be toast. Also, did I mention these are sniper rifles, 4 to 9? And there are some smaller pistols, yeah, but mostly that's it. See you next time, bye bye.